Hello everybody, and welcome to my first official set review. Today we will be looking at Journey of Discovery, which is the 27th set for the Final Fantasy TCG. I had a little time to test and discuss some of these cards with friends, so I'm not coming into this completely blind. However, with World Championship on the horizon, I'm excited to see how our predictions on which cards will see competitive play kind of hold up at the peak of competitive tournaments. So first, let's take a look at how we will be evaluating the cards before we jump right into it. We have this grid here that goes from the bad to the good on the y-axis and the niche to the broad on the x-axis. This is a method that some friends and I came up with as this game moves more and more towards tribal and category support. I think it is useful to separate cards like this. You can see some examples in the corners of what we would consider, good and niche or broad and bad. We tried to keep them all to starting with C, so what we would call like a good and niche card would be Corella, right? It is only useful really in a Knight's deck, and it's actually a build around card, but it is a fantastic, one of the best cards ever printed. So we call it the Corella corner, and something like Kucheling, for example, is a fantastic card that is played in every water deck that can play it, or most water decks that can play it, right? Same with Caius. It's not a particularly good card, and it's very niche. It's only on a Fire Ice deck that cares about not having cards in hand. It's very, you can't really play it anywhere, and it's not very good even where you're supposed to. And finally, the Cold Cap, what we call the Cold Cap corner, where it's a card that technically you could run in any wind deck, but it's so bad that you choose not to. So this is how we will be evaluating these cards. The format that we have here actually is intended to be in the future for friends to join, and we can perform our own reviews, or where each person would put their evaluation of the cards. That would make it easier in the future to look back to what we evaluated, what exactly we said about each card and who said it, and take a look at how wrong or right we were about each card. So we'll kick it off actually with Fire. For today, I am doing this by myself. I'm hoping that for the next couple of videos, I'll have some friends joining me and giving their thoughts as well. So starting off, Oran. It's a 2-cost backup, Job Guardian, Category 10, and Dissidia Final Fantasy. Doll, put him in the break zone, choose one blocking forward, it gains 7,000 power until the end of turn. If the other Oran did not exist, unfortunately there is already an Oran backup that is also a Guardian Category 10 that has back attack. When he enters, choose a forward. During this turn, the damage dealt to it by your opponent's summons or ability becomes 0. If this Oran didn't exist, I would be maybe a little bit higher on this card, just because he is a Fire backup Guardian from 10. There is something to be said about Final Fantasy 10 backups, because they're all searchable by buddy. And I know that some people tried at some point to create a 4-color Category 10 backup line for like a Warrior of Light deck, etc. So any Final Fantasy 10 backup does have some consideration. However, and especially if they're Guardians, there are some Guardian Matters cards. However, this effect is horrible. I don't remember the last time I blocked in this game, and we already have an Oran that is better. So I would say that this falls into maybe a little bit broader, because blocking forward, any forward can block, but pretty bad card, right? This could go technically anywhere, but we don't want that effect. Moving on, Ifrit, 1 CP EX, summon from Category 3. If you cast Ifrit, you may remove one card named Ifrit in your break zone from the game as an extra cost. From EX Burst, choose a forward, deal it 5,000 damage. If you paid the extra cost, deal it 8,000 damage instead. Now, this is a pretty cool one to evaluate. I really, really like this card personally. This kind of competes with Brynhildr, and you'll see this is why the grid kind of works out in our favor. This card, I think in decks that can run Brynhildr, they will still run Brynhildr because they cannot pay that alternate cost. However, in decks that can pay that alternate cost, this is this competes with Brynhildr. It doesn't draw you a card, but it costs one less, and it has the potential to nuke a bigger forward later in the game when you have more Ifrits in your break zone. The biggest contender for this is Mono Fire. Mono Fire does run the other 1 CP Ifrit that deals 5,000, and if you have 5 or more category or 5 or more fire characters, it deals another 5,000. So you can remove early pitched Ifrits, copies of this or that one, to do 8,000 damage. You cannot do it as an EX burst, but 5,000 for EX is what we would be running Brynhildr for anyway. So I think, to me, this goes higher in the good category, but more in the niche. Like I said, I think it's more like Mono Fire or any deck that runs Ifrit. So it is decently niche. I don't think a lot of decks are running Ifrit nowadays, but where it in the decks that do, I think this is a good consideration. I quite like this card. This is a cycle of 3 CP standard units. We're starting with Fire 1 Viper. It's a category 14 standard unit. When Viper enters the field, choose one forward. Opponent controls, deal 3,000 damage. If you control a multi-element forward, deal it 7,000 damage instead. I think decent enough and limited. There is a 3,000 power forward in this set that this kills. Having a multi-element to set for 7k, it's not very good, honestly. It's just, draft fodder common. I think it's just, we'll put it in the let's see, multi-element forward. I think we'll put it kind of somewhere around the middle, in the bad section. It's just draft chaff. Moving on to Ace, 6 CP, backup class 0 cadet, type 0, obviously. When Ace enters the field, choose one forward, deal it 9,000 damage. You can put him in the break zone to choose a forward and deal it 5,000 damage. There's not much to talk about here. If you want this effect on a card, there is a Tifa that you can run instead. Let's say if you wanted just a big backup that does the effect, Tifa does this. Tifa has EX burst and also turns into a forward, potentially against control decks, etc. You can just have like a very hard to remove forward in your backline, and with an EX for the 9,000 damage, this card is just like all around better, and that card sees absolutely no play. This has a horrible name, horrible category. This is just, overall a really, really bad card. Technically any fire deck could run it, but it's very disappointing that it's an ace, especially with how many good aces there are around. All right, moving on to Guy. 4 CP forward, warrior / rebel. I'm liking that they do these for these category 2 cards lately. That the City of Final Fantasy as well. When Guy enters the field, you may play one forward or cost 2 or less from your hand onto the field. At the end of each of your turns, if you control 4 or more forwards, draw 1 card. I actually really like this card. Warriors tend to play Edgar backup to try to get Zidane into play. This is another way to do that on a searchable forward that is also, relevant to your category, like being like a warrior deck. Plays your Zidane, draws you cards if you have 4 or more forwards. We do know that warriors tend to swarm, especially when they play things like Axstar, etc. I think this will be a really good one or two off in that deck, maybe cutting back on some of the Edgars. I'm not personally a huge fan of Edgar, and this card kind of makes me want to dial back on the Edgars as if we're still on the play Zidane plan. But that is only speaking of warriors. I think overall it's a decent text card. I think the drawing a card every turn kind of saves this and turns it from like a bad card to a decent card in every deck that can play it. But I would be surprised to see play anywhere other than warriors. One other thing that I commented when I looked at this card is that potentially this the Edgar that we cut for it can be replaced by this Yosef, since it searches Firion as well in that deck. So we would have like an additional EX in our deck, an additional 3 CP backup with EX that searches our Firion or our Guy. I think that would be a good thing to explore for the warrior players. So I'm gonna put it in the good category around, let's say around here. Decently niche. I'm gonna leaning towards niche just because I think warriors are the ones that really want this effect. But technically, you could run it in any deck that runs 2 CP forwards and floods. If Yuna was still a thing, I think this card would see a lot more play because giving you card draw with Yuna would be pretty good. This is one of my favorite cards. Okay, so Chaos Advent, 4 CP, forward, Job Warrior. Again, I have no idea why. This looks more like a knight to me, but whatever. The category is Sappho, or Stranger of Paradise. When he is put from the field into the break zone, reveal the top 7 cards of your deck. So reveal 7, less cursed than reveal 5. Play up to 1 category Sappho forward among them onto the field. Then shuffle the other cards and return them to the bottom of your deck. The forward element becomes dark, and it gains Job Chaos. This effect does not end at the end of the turn. I love this flavor-wise. It is fantastic. The effect is actually really good. We have only one problem. There really are no good Sappho cards. Sappho forwards, for some reason, there's a lot of support for them, but no payoffs whatsoever. The absolute best card that you can potentially hit with this, ironically, is also a dark card, which is Darkness Manifest. I'm trying to find what is it called. Is it Darkness Manifest? Oh, I'm in the deck portion. Whoops. Darkness Manifest is a 7 CP already dark card. 9,000. You have an alternate cost to play it, but if you play him off of that guy, right, you're playing him for free. The beginning of May phase 1, it deals your opponent 1 point of damage, and when he leaves the field, you choose 1 character and break it. I think this is the best payoff, and it's not like the greatest thing in the world. It's top 7, so you're not gonna hit him. There's no way to control that you're going to hit that guy, and your other options that you're forced to play so you don't whiff with this guy are not particularly exciting. So to me, this is a niche card that's pretty bad right now, but this is dependent on other Sappho cards that we get in the future. If we get better Sappho cards, this card gets better and better and better. This is what I love about this game. There's some old cards that, as more sets get revealed, get more powerful. So. I do not know how to pronounce this guy. Galul Jaja. 3 CP forward, Job King. Category 14. When he deals damage to a forward, choose 1 forward opponent controls other than that forward. Deal the same amount of damage. This effect will trigger only once per turn. At damage 5, he does have a trigger where you choose a forward opponent controls, deal 7,000 damage. It's okay. 7,000 is it's decent. 7,000 to 2 things. Damage 5 is a little high. If this was like damage 3, maybe I'd be a little more excited for him. But I don't see anywhere where this type of effect is relevant. Like damage 5 is not where you want to be like triggering Megisa, because importantly, actually, like he can't even deal damage to your own forwards with the damage 5. So disregard what I just said. Yeah, this card's just pretty generic, but not very good. I'd say it's pretty broad. I don't think it matters where you run this, but it's not an exciting effect. Not super terrible. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but yeah. Gladiator, a category 5 2 CP backup. Very simple effect, standard unit. Put him into the break zone, put him into the break zone, deal 2,000 damage to all the forwards opponent controls. This is pretty generic effect. We could have had this effect like 10 sets ago. There is something to be said about maybe like if there's some summons or decks that kind of want to that have like not enough damage to wipe you with stuff like, I don't know, like Salamander or something that does like 7,000 to the board. This kind of like ramps up that damage so you can board clear. So maybe something like that could see play at some point. I don't know. I wish we had this effect a long time ago. I think we're too late for this effect to be good. So I'm going to go around here. It is very broad though. Like any deck that runs fire could potentially run it. It's also a standard unit. It is highly searchable with stuff like Luso, etc. I don't know. Maybe if it had like a relevant category or name, an effect like this would be better. Starting off, Samurai. So 1 cost backup, category 14 standard unit. This is a cycle of backups that we'll be discussing in the future as well, where they are 1 CP backups, which are I always think are fantastic. It's the cheapest backup that you can play. And they have like an extra cost for another element, and they give you an additional effect if you pay that cost. In this case, if you cast Samurai, you may pay 2 and Wind as an extra cost. When he enters the field, choose 1 forward or cost 6 or more. If you paid the extra cost, break it. Not a fan of if you cast it. It sucks. I would like to be able to revive this and pay the extra cost. But either way, it's not a particularly good. I think this might be the worst of those effects. Cost 6 or more. If it was cost 5 or more, I would say, okay, that's fine. 6 or more, there's not a lot of those, and Fire Wind is not a particularly exciting combination. The only saving grace of this card is that it's named Samurai, and that is relevant for some cards that care about specifically card named Samurai. So I'll put it in the niche category. It's very niche. It's Samurai and it's Fire Wind. But it's not a good card. I think maybe Samurais could use the name. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we cut any other 2 CP Samurais for it, but I'm gonna put it like around here for now, just because cheap Samurai. All right, the first, I think, exciting card with a lot of text. Zandy. This is the Fire Legend, 5 CP, forward, category 3, Dark Lord. When Xandy enters the field, name 1 job. All the forwards with the named job opponent control lose all abilities until the end of the turn. At the beginning of the attack phase during each of your turns, choose 1 forward opponent controls, deal 9,000 damage, draw 1 card, then discard a card. If you discard a card named Zandy by this effect, trigger this auto ability again. So, I genuinely don't know how to evaluate this card. I think the first line of text is decent. If you name something like Warrior of Light, you kind of like negate Refia for a turn, but the problem is this can be responded to. This can be Amaterasu and killed. The draw, discard, I mean, the 9,000 each of the attack phases is pretty good, and looting is pretty good every turn, so drawing, discarding. I think the discarding a card named Zandy is never going to happen. There's not enough good Zandys to justify running more than copies of this guy. But is a 5 cost 8,000 that deals 9,000 and loots every turn good? I want to say not really, with an asterisk. Just because I don't know which deck would want this. And the fact that it does have an auto ability means that it can be cancelled by Amat and you're killing this guy. I don't know. I want to say this is... It's kind of middling. I'm going to put it right in the middle just because I'm being a little bit of a fence sitter here. And more towards the broad, I think any deck with fire could run this card if they want it. Not that they want to, but we'll see. Moving on to Jet, 6 CP, fire forward, guardian job, category 10, and the City of Final Fantasy as well. Warp, curse word, Warp 2 for 1 and fire. When he enters the field, select one of the 2 following actions. Choose a forward, deal 8,000, or deal 5,000 to all the forward opponent controls. I think this is pack fodder. It sucks that it's a 6 CP. If it was 5 CP, it could be potentially played by what's her name, by Faisalis last set that plays warp cards. I think in limited it's pretty good. It is a very cheap card with removal, but in constructed I just don't see it. So we're gonna put this in the warp category, which is bad. Next card, 4 CP Zell from category 8, EX Burst. When Zell enters the field, choose any number of forwards. Divide 5,000 damage among them as you like. If you control 4 or more category 8 characters, divide 9,000 damage among them as you like. Instead, the units must be 1,000. And at damage 3, Cell gains haste. First thing I'm going to say about this card, I really like the artwork. It's really cool. He does look a little younger than you expect him to look in the game. Not terribly excited about this card. Dividing 5,000 damage is... I mean, it basically says deal 5,000 damage to one thing, so kill a last will or something like that. Dividing 9,000 damage is it's super awkward. I have no idea why that couldn't be a little more, considering that you need 4 or more category 8 characters. So other than himself, 3 more. That is a lot to ask for 9,000 damage. I think this card is kind of dead on arrival. There's a lot better things that you could be doing for category 8 payoffs, and one of them is not to be in fire. I think this card is pretty niche, and where it is niche, it is also pretty bad. So, putting it in the Caius corner for now. Zeromus, this is our other fire legend. Category 4, and Mobius, Jablonarian. Zeromus is also card named Zemus in all situations, which is none that matter. When one or more characters you control are chosen by your opponent's summon or ability, if your opponent doesn't pay either 4 CP or a crystal, cancel its effect. I think this card's pretty good. I think this is the reason that Cecil got banned, or one of the reasons that 5 CP Wind Cecil got banned, because this is a category 4 card. Meaning that it fits perfectly into what that deck was doing already. Rosa would have let you play this off color, as well as Cecil himself would have been able to play this, and being like, okay, you have to pay 4 and then 2 or a crystal, or like 2 and a crystal, or 2 and 4 to cancel an effect, and pray that I don't have any way to protect my own things beyond the text that they already have. But even by himself, I think it's pretty good. Very few decks naturally run crystals. So for, I would say, 90% of decks that you will face, this card says you can't target my stuff if you don't pay 4, or if you don't have like Anamaterasu to cancel this effect as you target my other forward with that effect, which is effectively paying 5. So pretty good. Being category 4 actually makes me kind of excited to explore Rydia again. So this card will trigger Rydia and give her a counter. So for those who are new, this Rydia, if when Rydia or a category 4 character enters your field, place 2 growth counters, and then cast 1 summon equal to the growth counters from your hand for free. This card protects Rydia and gives her a counter. It's huge. I'm wondering, I think one of the exciting things for me is if, let's say, this card becomes, very relevant and it's everywhere. I think there is a non-zero chance that maybe decks start running crystal generating backups just to counter this card, since they're all standard unit backups. You could like search them with Luso. I don't know if that will be a thing, right? But let's say you're on Mono Water or something, you could potentially just play this Paladin, right, as a one-off. It's a 3 CP draw card backup that gains a crystal. You could search him, off of LB Luso or something to kind of counter this Zeromus for a turn and get rid of it. I don't know. I think it's really cool design space that they're exploring, and I'm excited to see where this card goes. Overall, I think it's pretty strong and pretty broad. I think it goes into anything that can run fire. So I would put it pretty high up here. Like I'd say this is not quite Kuchulain, right? But let's say somewhere around this corner right here. I think it's a good card. Maybe I am overestimating a 4-drop 8,000. I don't think I am. We saw how powerful 4 protection is with Cecil. Granted, Cecil was broken because of other reasons, but I think this has the potential to see a lot of play. Next, we got 4 CP Terra. This is the signature card of the set as well. Category 6, Magitech Knight. When she enters the field, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, add up to 1 fire card and up to wind or lightning card among them to your hand, and put the rest of the cards into the break zone. When you cast a wind or lightning card, you may dual active Terra. When you do so, choose a forward, deal 8,000 damage. Another extremely hard card to evaluate. I don't know, fire and wind, fire lightning, they're not like played combinations at the time. But if they ever are, this card is fantastic. I think minimally she will draw you a card, right? Let's say you're playing like Fire Wind or Fire Lightning or Fire Wind Lightning for some reason, right? Minimally, she's gonna reveal one of those cards and draw them. Potentially two. She could potentially be a free forward. And then 8,000 damage for casting a card, not even like a summon or a specific type of card, any card that's wind or lightning. You may duel her and deal 8,000 for something like, let's say you play this. Say you're in something like Fire Lightning, you play this, and you get your cards, and then you go pitch, play Cloud LB, right? Kill something, dull her 8,000 to something else. I think that's pretty good. I think this card, the deck doesn't exist, but if it did, it has. I see the potential, and I really like this card. It's also gorgeous artwork. So I'm gonna say it's a little bit niche because again, it kind of needs a combination of cards of elements that's not particularly popular. But in that combination, I think she's pretty good. So I'm gonna put her somewhere around here. I think it's good. Next, we have another Jaja, Bakul Jaja, 4 CP warrior again, category 14. 8,000 power. When he enters the field or leaves the field, remove the top card of your deck from the game. During this game, you can cast it at any time you can normally cast it. It's delayed card draw that your opponent also sees. Potentially a 4 draw 2. So it's kind of like a. Let me look for this card. It's kind of like when I saw it, I think of this card. I think of this Onion Knight. When he enters the field, discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards. When you have no cards in hand, this is a draw 2. So you don't have to not have any cards in hand for him, and he doesn't draw you the cards, so you can't pitch them for CP, which is really important. But they're kind of like in your hand. I'm not too excited about this card, to be honest. Not in Warriors, not in any fire deck that I can think of. So yeah, I don't think I have much to say about this card. It's okay. It's broad enough. I think it's not like the worst effect in the world, but it's nothing too exciting. Unless there's something I'm missing, I don't see this. All right, next card. Gorgeous artwork. 4 CP Luneth, Warrior of Light, category 3. When Luneth enters the field, reveal the top card of your deck if it is a character of cost 3 or less played onto the field. Then he has an effect, a Minuet, an S ability for fire. All the forwards cost 3 or less you control gain haste until the end of turn. I'll start off by saying I love this artwork. It is gorgeous. I really like the whole effect, the chocobo kind of like, saying "queh" to the camera. As far as the effects, I'm not particularly excited. You kind of would have to build the deck of everything except himself being a 3 or less, because since it's revealed the top card of your deck, not top 2, top 3, it's just the top card of your deck and played onto the field. If you reveal anything that's not him, like you just paid 4 for a 5,000, do nothing, right? So it's a build around me card, and every other copy that you add of him for the special makes him much worse, right? Make more cards that you can flip that are not 3 or less. I don't think there's anything remotely playable right now that this would fit in. So and for people, I know some people will say like 7 CP wall. I don't think so. Maybe as a one-off if everything else, but that deck also runs enough non-3 drops to search the Warriors of Light, like Sarah FFL, Warrior of Light himself. There's 6 copies of that this will whiff a non-zero amount of time, like a relevant amount of time. I just don't see it. So I'll call it a niche and bad. niche because you literally need to build a deck around him. Like, if you play anything that's over 3 CP, this is just a bad card, right? Finally, last card, General Leo. 5 CP forward, 9,000 power, category 6 in Pictologica, job captain. When Leo enters the field, you may play one job standard unit forward. It costs 5 or less from your hand onto the field. And then for fire, choose one forward, deal it 1,000 damage. Generic pack fodder. 5 for 9 is okay. Playing a standard unit of cost 5 or less is interesting. I don't think there's anything too exciting on 5, but it's whatever. The only thing I will say, I don't know if this is the first true CP sync that we have in terms of if you somehow manage to generate infinite CP, then you can just dump it into him to wipe the board. Hey, future me here. It has come to my attention that I am completely wrong about that. Since Opus 3, there's literally a Gilgamesh that has 4 effects that you can just spend infinite amounts of CP on, and one of them is a fire for 2,000 damage. So disregard anything I say. This card is just absolutely horrible, and it's not even close to being the first infinite CP sync in the game. There's actually multiple. I have no idea what I was thinking. Enjoy the rest of the video. I'm not sure if that's the case. That would be the only situation where I see like a card like this getting played. But otherwise, he's just a mediocre pack fodder. Let's put him here because you kind of need like standard unit. Actually, you need standard unit forwards, which barely played. So all right, let's do it. To the Kaya's corner you go. And that's it for fire. Honestly, fire kind of got a little shafted this set. It's not, other than Zima's. I think there's nothing like that I'm super excited to play. However, moving on to something, an element that did, I think, get a lot of good cards this set, we'll talk about Ice. Starting off with Ish. 4 CP, category FFB forward. Kingdom of Elmont Soldier / Warrior. I have no idea why the Kingdom thing matters. Just call her a warrior. When Ish, a job warrior, or a card named warrior enters your field, choose one forward opponent controls, dull it and freeze it. When she enters the field, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add one job warrior or card named warrior among them to your hand, and return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. This card is like a balanced last wall in a way, but much worse. Forward is dulling and freezing a forward is so bad compared to dulling and freezing a character. You can't deny your opponent resources if they're not actively engaging with you via forwards. Reveal top 3. Top 3 is kind of cursed. It means you need a very high density of warriors. We're talking like 30 plus warriors. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but that is a lot of warriors to be running, which is doable. Like Fire Ice warriors can run that amount of warriors, but if this whiffs, this card's horrendous. You paid 4 for it to potentially dull freeze it forward. I'm not excited for her. I don't think this card will see play just because there's too much going on to do less than an already established card does. I keep going back to Last Will. Yeah, Last Will was a mistake. I think that card should not have been printed as it was. But I think we played it way too safe with this one. I think this card could have looked at the top 5 or something, and it would have been fine. So I think it's extremely niche, and I won't say it's like as bad as some of the other cards, because Dull Freeze, on entry for every thing is not terrible. It is searchable, category FFBE where that matters, but not particularly excited for this card. Moving to Alone. This is the first printed Alone. It only took 27 sets for us to get Alone. The character that kind of kickstarts the entire plot of Final Fantasy VIII, but whatever. I'm glad that we waited this long because this art is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. Miki Yamashita kind of outdid herself with this one. So 2CP backup, Ice, category 8. Dull, remove her from the game. Choose a category 8 forward you control. It gains 2,000 power, and when this forward attacks, draw 1 card. This effect does not end at the end of the turn. Very important. You can only use this ability during your turn. I don't like that there's a lot of restrictions here. I think this card did not need this many restrictions. I think it could have been potentially something like, what is that card's name? I think it's Luge. When a forward enters view, you remove him from the game. If you do that forward against 2,000 power and brave, not requiring her to duel would be a good start. The effect is good. If you give that to a forward, right? Let's say you play like a hasty forward like Cypher or Irvine, right? And you play that forward and you give him that effect when you attack, draw a card. That's pretty good. The text that she gives the forward is fantastic. However, I don't know how many category 8 forwards we like. This deck doesn't exist yet. It might after this set, and we'll see all the other ice cards. So hard to evaluate. I will say being a true drop backup is relevant. We'll see some cards that actually do care about it. So I'm kind of on the fence on this card. She is pretty niche. She's only usable really in category 8 cards. She doesn't have like a good like job or anything. I think it's okay. I'm gonna put her kind of like in the middle here. Actually, it's pretty niche and it's category 8. I'm gonna put her in the middle just because if Lightning Ice 8 is a deck, specifically playing the new Idea, which we'll talk about in another video, you would play at least one of these, right? Because it's another name that you can search and play to fill out your category 8 characters for other effects. So we'll see. Then we have I think the best common card ever printed, or one of the best common cards ever printed. Ilmatale? I don't know how to pronounce this. Ilmatale? Anyway, 3 CP Ice forward. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, Kingdom of Elmon Soldier / Mage. Very important that she's a mage. When she is chosen by your opponent's ability, your opponent discards 1 card. When the job warrior forwards and card name warrior forwards you control gain, when this forward is chosen by your opponent's ability, your opponent discards 1 card. And then at damage 3, she gains 2,000 power. She's a 9k. This card is insane for a common. Like in limited, you're gonna see this card in every deck. It's such an obnoxious card. Notably, she doesn't cancel the effect, which is good. She doesn't like prevent your opponent from doing stuff, but basically increases the cost of everything that targets your warriors by 2, unless you're empty-handed. I quite like it. I quite like this card. The fact that she has the effect herself, the fact that she gives the effect to the warriors themselves, so you can't even like Amat her to kill her. The Amat would target the warrior itself, not her. Thank the Lord that they didn't print this on a warrior, because this would be like the most broken thing ever. But I think this is a serious consideration for Fire Ice Warriors, which kind of was starting to become a thing last set. I think it had like a little too much primals, but this set kind of like is filling in those gaps that was left by the primals. I would consider this a decent card, especially for a common. Again, if you played pre-release and you didn't see one of these every game, someone was doing something wrong. It's a very good text on a card. So I'll call her niche, and I think it's pretty good. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Call, this is a very easy one to evaluate. So 2 CP Ice Warrior backup. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. Doll, put him into the break zone. Choose 1 job warrior or card name warrior into your break zone. Add it to your hand. Simple text, common card. Still, this is a fantastic card. If Fire Ice Warriors become a thing, this card you're playing 2 or 3 of this. This guy, searchable off of Tyvis for your ice. If you already have your turn 1 play, like let's say like a Mog 6. You search this and get your ice, and you're done for the game. You have a warrior in your back row as well. You can sack him to get any warrior back. So Tyvis, Axstar, Mog. So one of the things that would annoy me, like let's say you go, like turn 1, you already have the Mog in hand, or you have this guy. You can go like Tyvis, play Mog, draw a card, play this guy. Mog sacks itself. You can't search. And then the next turn you can do it again if you think your opponent's going to be searching again with a Tyro or something. Sack this, get the Mog played off Tyro's draw. And it's like, okay, you can't search for 2 turns in a row. Usually the second Mog is the one that hurts the most. And this guy kind of enables that because for existing. You can also do it in your opponent's turn. It's just a really good card overall. I think this card's great. If Ice Fire Warriors is a thing, this guy is just a home run for that deck. Moving on to Bard, we talked about there being a 3CP standard unit cycle. This is the Ice version of that. When Bard enters the field, choose 1 forward opponent controls, dull it, and freeze it. When Bard enters the field, choose 1 backup opponent controls. If you control a multi-element forward, dull it and freeze it. I think this is the best of that cycle. The choose 1 forward opponent controls, dull it and freeze it on a 3CP standard unit, 7K standard unit is acceptable. Choosing a forward and a backup, that's pretty good for 3CP on a standard unit. I think it's perfectly acceptable. It is draft chaff, but it's decent draft chaff. I'm not sad if I have to pick this card. If I'm on ice and I have to pick this card, I'm not particularly sad. So I would say this is decently broad, but not like the most terrible thing in the world. So let's put it around here. You do need multi-element forward, so this doesn't go in mono ice, but if you're playing draft or whatever, you're most likely playing multi-element forwards. And at worst, it's a dull and freeze. It's not the worst. 1CP Bard. The other cycle, the 1CP backup cycle, category 14. Standard unit, if you cast Bard, you may pay 3 in Earth as an extra cost. When it enters the field, choose 1 dull forward. If you paid the extra cost, break it. This one I like. Ice is already doing that, right? It kind of like, I do like that this fits with what Ice is already doing. Ice is dulling your forwards, right? And being able to pay 4 to just straight up kill a forward later is okay. Being a 1CP backup early is decent. The only real problem is, what is Ice Earth doing these days? Not much. In draft or in limited, this was fantastic, as most of them were, but this one in particular was really good. I think this has potential-ish if Ice Earth ever becomes a thing. We'll see. If it has to be like something like Ice Earth that cares about ramping for like Kurasame or something potentially, so you want these 1CP backups. So pretty niche, I'd say. But the effect is not the worst in the world, so I'm gonna put him a little higher because a break on a backup is okay. Clara. When Clara enters the field, 4CP, 8,000 power forward, category 11. When she enters the field, choose up to 2 characters, dull them. If you control 3 or more, job warrior or card name warrior, also freeze them. Unironically, I kind of like this better than the other one because, it's a common, it has kind of common text. Job warrior, card name warrior is not that hard now that we saw that we have the ice warrior in the back row, right? So that counts for 1, and it's a dull freeze characters for 4, but it doesn't give you extra value past that. So, but again, as a common, it's okay. It's draft chaff. Effect is okay, so I would say it's like niche, kind of like around here. Like I said, like a lot of these will be niche just because of the Job Warrior, like relevant on category. As cards keep getting spoiled that are more category / job related. Gesper, a category 8 Mobius, a multiplayable monster, job war machine. When Gesper enters the field, choose up to 2 forwards, dull them, and freeze them. For ice and break, put Gesper into the break zone, choose 1 dull forward, and break it. Out of this cycle of monsters, I think it is the best. And now that I mentioned the cycle of monster, I just realized I did not put in the fire one. So let's actually, before we go to Gesper, let's do an evaluation of the fire monster, because I don't know why I missed it in my little. I think it's so bad that I actually that I actually missed it. It is a 5-drop monster. If I don't. Okay, so yeah, it is Fire Elemental. I don't know why I missed this card. So when Fire Elemental enters the field, choose 1/4, deal it 5,000 damage. For a 5-drop monster category Sapfo, sure. Then you can pay fire, dull it, put it into the break zone, just 1/4, deal it 8,000 damage. This card's horrible. I don't know why this card exists. Maybe in the future we'll see something that cares about high cost in your field, high cost monsters specifically in your field, and makes them win you the game. I have no idea why they printed this card. It's horrible. So there you go. That's the card. It's bad. It's horrible. Don't play it. So in the same vein of the cycle, we have Gesper. Now Gesper is when he enters the field, choose up to 2 forwards, dull them, and freeze them. Ice, dull, put him into the break zone, choose 1 dull forward, break it. I think, and you'll see this in the other forwards, in the other set review. This is the better of the cycle. Being 4 CP is okay. 2 forwards, dull, and freeze, pretty relevant. Just straight up breaks a forward, so he can just dull, freeze something, and break it. It's pretty decent for what it does. For like a draft common, it's okay. It's category 8, and there are cards that care about having category 8 characters on the field. So specifically in limited in this set, this card is pretty important. You kind of want to play it if you open up a card that we'll talk about later. Will this see play in overall constructed? I don't think so, but I'm not super sad picking this card in my draft or opening it up in limited. So I'd say it's a broad card around here. Like every ice deck can play this. Exciting card to talk about. So Kefka. You can pay. So Kefka is an 8 CP, category 6 mage, 9,000 power. You can pay Ice, Earth, and Lightning instead of paying the CP cost to cast Kefka. You can only pay this cost with CP produced by backups. Very important. When Kefka enters the field due to your cast, choose 1 forward opponent controls and 1 backup with a cost equal to or less than the forward in your break zone. Break the former and play the latter onto the field. Now, I will say I have a little bit of rose-tinted glasses with this card. Just because I opened this in pre-release and absolutely destroyed with it, I did manage to get the alternate casting cost twice via like Urianger backup that produces lightning and naturally having like ice and earth. I love this card. The effect is really cool. We don't have anything like it where it like revives a backup. I think this is supposed to be that he's like turning a forward into Magicite or something, which is really cool. If you can pay the alternate casting cost for this is one of the best cards I think ever. It just gives you so much value for killing something and getting back a backup. But even paying 8, depending on what you kill and what you get back, if you build around this card, I think if you kill, like if I kill a 4-drop and get back a 4-drop backup that searches, I'm not terribly upset that I paid 8 for it. If I kill a 5-drop and then get like a 5-drop backup, like a Tyro or something, then I'm definitely not unhappy that I got that amount of value for 8. So, there is a consideration for it being, you can pay it for 8, hoping that your opponent doesn't, cancel it. Excuse me. I love this card. Playing the backup is really good. The only problem is like if you're aiming to pay for the alternate casting cost, you already would have 3 backups on the field, which means you have to be careful about opening up your backup slots. So you kind of like have to build around this card a little bit. Now, I will say one thing that needs to be said here. And I think it's one of the first things that people noticed when this card was spoiled. Opus 18 Sid Haze that says when he enters the field, the cost required to cast your next card is reduced by 2. that does include the colors on this alternate casting cost because of the rules of the game, kind of similar how to Rosa Cecil, etc. That Sid, if you cast this Sid, you can cast this card by a ice. You can choose which one of these you pay via backup. So let's say you're on Wind Ice, you can just pay with an ice backup and get the whole effect. I think that is something to explore. Is it good or relevant right now? I don't know. I would be surprised if it's not, though. So I'm very excited to see where this card goes. I think it's decently niche. Not, you have to be in a certain deck to play it. It's decently niche. There's ways to cheat them out, to cheat out the alternate casting cost. Remember, you have to cast them to get the effect, so you can't just cheat them out with another card. But I think the effect is really good. So I'm going to put him around here. See where that goes. Speaking of, wow, we got 2 good ice cards in a row. Seymour is our next one. 5 CP, 9,000 power. Category 10 Summoner. When Seymour enters the field or attacks, you may pay 1. When you do so, select up to 2 of the 4 following actions. Choose 1 duel forward, break it. Choose up to 2 characters, duel them, and freeze them. During this turn, the cost required to cast your next summon is reduced by 4, or your opponent discards a card. This card's insane. This card's so good. This card warps the game around him whenever he's played, and very likely, since it's also when he enters, he's still gonna get a lot of value, even if they answer him immediately. And to be honest, there's very few clean answers to this card if he comes down something like turn 2. This card is if you treat him as like a 6 CP enters the field, you could go back up turn 1 into this guy and his effect turn 2. If your opponent did not respect this card and they played like their own like backup or something, you put them so far behind, I don't think there's any way to recover, right? Because then you go Dole 1, pitch, Seymour, pay 1, Dole, freeze your 2 backups, discard a card, and I'm going to do it again every turn unless you answer this. And good luck answering it with your 2 backups frozen and 1 less card in hand. He just takes over the game. The only weakness I see is that you have to attack with him to get the effect. But I mean, you open yourself up to like EX Burst, but like you have Sid Waff as a way to ice negate the issues with attacking. It's insane. This card's so powerful. I don't know exactly which deck is gonna run it, but somebody's gonna run it. I think this card by itself makes ice a serious consideration in this set, and I would definitely be surprised if I don't see him at Worlds. I think it's because people would not have enough time to test between now and Worlds. But I genuinely think this card just warps a lot around him, enough to say, that it's one of my favorite cards and one of my contenders for best card of the set. I'm gonna put him right. It's an ice card. Let's put him right around here. I genuinely love this card. I think it's very powerful. Moving on to Sid Alstein. When Sid Alstein enters the field, choose 1 character, duel it, and freeze it. Your opponent discards 1 card. 4 CP, 7,000, type 0, Grand Marshal. I would have loved this card maybe like 5 or 6 sets ago. These enter the field, discard, do nothing else cards are worse and worse, especially after LBs are now a thing, right? So putting you empty-handed is not as grueling as it was. That being said, it's 2 effects. It's kind of like I call him. He's like a upfront Rufus. He does 2 of Rufus's effects, although Rufus only dual freezes a forward. But he kind of does 2 of the Rufus effects, the discard and the dual freeze up front, but then doesn't do it again. Doesn't give you like extra value by attacking. Good and bad. Good that you can flicker this with something like Renoa, and that the value is immediate. It's kind of hard to evaluate. I didn't hate this card in limited, and I don't think it's as bad as some people might think. I think as far as like if I'm playing a card that's just for discarding, for triggering my discard effects, I could do a lot worse than this just because he also gets a Dull Freeze on top of it. So he effectively takes away 3 CP from your opponent, which Seymour kind of does every single. Seymour takes away 4 CP every single turn, but you pay 1 CP, so it's like a +3 in that sense. This guy just takes away, that 3 CP, the Dull Freeze, and the discard just on enter. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I don't think there's space for this. There's so many good ice cards right now that discard that there's no space for him. Now, this card printed maybe 7 sets ago or something like that, Opus 20, would be insane. I think I would be so good. So I'm going to put him in broad, but kind of weak. Let's say around there. All right, moving on to Squall, 2 CP EX Burst, 4,000 power, category 8 seed candidate. When Squall enters the field, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 category 8 card among them to your hand, and return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. 1 Dull, put him into the break zone. You can play 1 category 8 character of cost 4 or less from your hand onto the field. You can only use this ability during your turn. If an FF8 deck exists, this card is straight up going into it. In that deck, this card is really good. It's a free card, right? The problem with it is it's a reveal 3, which means that, again, your density of Final Fantasy VIII has to be really high, like almost a title deck for this to get its value. And you do want to be drawing a card. If you don't draw a card with this, then it's a bad card. But the effect of putting him into the break zone, playing 1 category 8 character cost 4 or less, pretty good. So you play this cheap forward and then you sack it to play something. There's another Squall actually that I don't know why they're making that like Squall's theme. I'm not sure why it's thematic for him to do this. But this Squall is kind of like the same. At the beginning of your attack phase during each of your turns, you may play 1 category 8 forward or cost 4 or less from your hand onto the field. So I don't know why they're giving that effect to a Squall. Importantly, this is character, not forward, so he can play backups and other cool things. I think this is pretty much a slam dunk for Final Fantasy VIII itself. If it's like Ice Lightning or something, yeah, there's definitely a lot to like here. There's a lot of good 4-drops that you want to be playing in that deck. One of them being himself. He's not limited to himself, but if you can play something like, I don't know, like the Selfie, right? You may search for one category 8 forward. That's a lot of value. If you can play something, or I don't know, like this Questis, this one, right? Like reveal top 5. I have 1 category 8 forward, and she buffs him by 1,000 too, which is kind of cute. I don't know. There's a lot to explore here. Extremely niche, but I think where he is niche, he's very good. Moomba, kind of tied for one of the cards tied for my favorite artwork of this set. Ruby Asami is incredible, and the fact that I wish more people would do like alternate borders like she does. It's so good. Look at it. You can dull 2 active category 8 forwards to control instead of paying the CP cost to cast Moomba. Just 1 forward. If it is dull or has received damage, break it. I love this card. That phrasing, I want it in more cards. It allows you to do certain things with timing restrictions that a card that says, for example, a card that says choose a dull forward, right? The forward has to be dull at the time of selection, etc. So this card kind of like lets you play around with dulling things after the fact. Or damaging things after the fact to be able to break him with it and not whiff. So I would love for them to explore this phrasing a lot more. In an 8 deck, it's pretty good. Honestly, like even outside of an 8 deck, I don't know if outside of an 8 deck I would play this, but dulling 2 category 8 forwards, to cast this for free is really good. So I want to say in the deck where it's good, it's not super niche. You could potentially play this somewhere else, but it's only good in the niche portion of it. This is a really kind of tricky card to evaluate using this grid. So let's call it something like this. It's leaning towards niche, decent enough effect. All right, moving on to Laguna. Ooh, very handsome man here. So 4-drop, 8,000 power, category 8 marksman. When he enters the field, select one of the 2 following actions. If he entered the field due to the ability of a card named Squall, meaning the one that we saw before, the 2 that we saw before, You select both. One is choose one, dull forward, break it. The other is your opponent discards a card. I'm not sure. The problem with this card is you kind of have to get both effects for it to be good. I don't like paying for like an individual one of these effects if I'm not also doing something else. The problem is, and I'm gonna check right now, what is this competing with? Is there any Laguna? There really isn't many Lagunas that we're competing with in like a category 8 deck, right? Like this Laguna searches Squall, I guess. This searches any ice for, but it's a 5. If you control a card named Squall, this is a completely different thing. You might play him just because it's like the only one that you want to be playing, right? I would honestly, if you're playing like a category 8 swarm deck, the only Lagunas I consider are this one and this one, right? Like the search for Squall and add it to your hands. Maybe potentially that's a thing. We'll see. I don't know. I think it's unfortunate that they don't give my boy better cards because I do love this character. The artwork though, really good. Looking for full arts. I think it's niche and it's kind of it's kind of mediocre, honestly. Let's put it here. It's not like the worst thing you can be doing, but I wish it was something a little more exciting. All right, moving on to Reaper. 2 cost ice backup. Category 14 standard unit. When he enters the field, choose a forward opponent controls, deal damage equal to half of its power. Round up to the nearest 1000. And then the same effect again by paying ice and doling it. I would have liked this card before, honestly. I think there's nothing that I want this to do right now, or that I want that this is doing right now. I guess it plays kind of well with Moomba, where it gives you, the damage that you need to break it, but it's a lot of cards for anything outside of limited. Kind of cute that if you line up 2 of these, you can kill a forward, but it's like killing a forward by playing 2 backups. We were doing that with Black Mage forever. Like this, this was a thing way back in the day, right? Like choose 1 port, lose a 4,000 power until the end of turn. Like we were doing this in Opus 2, right? And it was like okay at that time. It was really good, but now a little bit funky. I don't particularly like this card. I think it's bad. It's kind of like a broad effect. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but I don't think this goes anywhere. All right, 3CP Renoa. Forward, 5,000 power, category 8 and DFF resistance fighter. When Renoa enters the field, you may search for 1 category 8 summon and add it to your hand. Oh, look, we got one in the set. That's really cool. If you open both, you can search them. When you cast a category 8 summon, choose 1 character opponent controls, dull it and freeze it. This is where that what I mentioned about this card saying if it is dull, has received damage, break it is really important. You can search this with Renoa, cast it, dull freeze with her, and break it with Moomba because of that verbiage. That is exactly what it's meant to do. If you're casting it on an already dull forward, then you can choose any other character opponent controls, dull it and freeze it, and then Vega Blast for S and Ice. Choose up to 2 characters, dull them and freeze them. It's okay. It's a little expensive, but for 2 dull freezes, if it was maybe 3. Category 8 summons are unfortunately, I think, pretty bad outside of that Moomba. Let's see here. So if we have category 8, and let's do a summon. Oh wow, yeah, these are all very old. I mean, this searches Eden and reduces the cost by 1. I guess it can like kill 2 forwards and dull freeze a backup. If you're going for the category 8 swarm to cast a cheap Eden, it's not the worst thing in the world. But there's other Renoas that are, I think even something like this card. Where is she? Like this Renoa that becomes free. It costs a card to cast by one for each category 8 character you control, and choose a category 8 character in your breaks and add it to your hand. Even like this is better, and it's also a promo, which looks really good. So I don't know. I like her. I really do. But it's like hyper niche because category 8 summons are like few and far in between. And effects is okay. It's a search. Yeah, let's put it here. If we get more 8 summons, then maybe we can reevaluate. Right. Rain. Again, the first card for Rain, category 8, Windhill Resident, 3 cost backup. When she enters the field, select one of the 2 following actions. Number 1, search for one card named Laguna and add it to your hand. Searches for one specific card. Okay. Or if you control a card named Laguna already, you may pay 2. When you do so, search for one card named Squall and play it onto the field. Like we said before, like none of the Lagunas are terribly exciting. The cool thing is that she plays any Squall, so in the future, if we do get like a really powerful broken 9 CP Squall, she could play it. But I'm pretty sure they would balance around this card. It's okay. I think we're kind of past the point where 3 CP backups that search specific forwards are good. We used to do that a lot back in the day, but now our searches are broader, or we just simply draw cards or search backups. I don't foresee this unless you... I mean, it's a 3 CP search backup. If you're playing an Ice Lightning deck and you care about category 8 characters for Eden or other effects, you are playing Laguna, you are playing Squall, so you're very likely playing at least one of this card. It's a search backup. It's never going to be terrible, but it's also like really niche, so let's put her right in the middle there. And ending with a banger, Lock. 2 CP, 5,000 power, Treasure Hunter, category 6. When Lock enters the field, your opponent draws 1 card, then randomly discards 1 card. When your opponent discards 1 or more characters due to your summons or abilities, choose a character, Thaler and freezes. When your opponent discards 1 or more summons due to your summons or abilities, draw 1 card. Now, one of the things I mentioned in previous cards discussed here was that some of the cards have way too many restrictions. I think they just took the restrictions from this card and put them in all those cards. This guy is not once per turn. The fact that he forces a draw and a random discard for some reason for 2 CP is incredible. This is like Argath on steroids, just on that, just on some of that text. The fact that he forces a draw means that all your, one of Ice's biggest problems is Ice has a lot of discard matters effects that are kind of countered by just, I'm not going to have cards in hand, therefore you can't discard my cards, and therefore you don't get half of your effects on the field, so your field is useless. The Lock says, I don't really care. I'm going to go in. I'm going to force you to draw your empty hand, and I'm going to force you a draw. I'm going to force a draw, force a discard. I also have like discard matter as effect, and I trigger all of my discard matter as effect at the same time. I'm also at 2 CP 5k. So you spent so little to play me, and your opponent answers me. You can just play me again for 2. It's horrible to have 2 random discards. This played very early can just like straight up murder your game plan if he happens to discard the card, like a backup searcher or something that you have in hand if you're trying to curve out. He just like destroys the potential of your plays just by being random. Like it's such a great card. Things to note, I don't know the deck that runs it, but I think every Ice deck will run it. It's just a good card. It just a dull freeze on, very likely a dull freeze on entry, or maybe a draw card. Either way, it's good. One thing that I wanted to highlight here, and I keep doing this, but this Celes is cool with him. It kind of like searches him if you don't have him, and then if you already have him, she discards, so she triggers the effect. And then if she parties with him, you get to like freeze things or get him back if you party with something else, get the lock back, play it again. I think this Celes is potentially going to be explored just because of this lock. Like as an additional copy of him, that also is a card that when you draw her, it triggers him. This is another. I can't believe I'm saying this. 2 ice cards competing for best card in the set for me. Very happy. Ice has not gotten a lot of love in the past few sets. This one, I think we would see an ice deck. I'd be very okay. Let me say it this way: I'd be very surprised if we don't see some sort of ice deck at Worlds, and if we don't, again, it's because of the short time between the set release and Worlds. Usually, people play their safe decks, and Ice has not been doing well enough to have all these high-level players with enough practice to pilot not only an Ice deck, but also to figure out what the correct ratios would be to include in lock and or Seymour to be, is it an aggressive deck, is it a ramp deck? There might not be enough time to figure that out unless you're a very established Ice player already, which I don't know who is going to Worlds that is an Ice player. So, but this card is insane. I think any Ice deck can play it, and it is very good. This goes in my Cooch corner, basically. And that is it for Ice. These are all the Fire and Ice cards for the set. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I hope to have other friends the next time for looking at the other cards. If not, we'll see you for the rest of the set. Thank you for joining.